Thank you for watching the John Eaton Elementary School Modernization Project's Subcontractor Contracting and Employment Training. First, I would like to go over the project contacts. GCS Siegel and Grundley Construction are joint venturing on this project. Please find the contact information for the project managers at Grundley Construction and GCS Siegel in the first table of the contacts. Please also find the contact information of the young lady that is responsible for certified payroll on this project, also in the first table on this contact sheet. Next, I would like to go over the contact information for Admin Solutions, the contracting and employment compliance firm responsible for this project. Their information is in the second table on the bottom half of this project contact sheet. The first set of requirements I'm going to cover are the Department of Small and Local Business Development requirements, also known as DSLBD. DSLBD is the agency in charge of monitoring public and private projects and all contracts per DC's official code. All construction and non-construction projects that have more than $250,000 of government assistance are required to meet a 35% subcontracting goal to small business enterprises, SBEs, which are business certifications certified by the agency. What does this mean for subcontractors? This means that all of the subcontractors working on this project is responsible for helping the project meet this contracting goal. So if you have subcontracting opportunities, please make every effort to contract with small business enterprise contractors. You're also required to submit an SBE subcontracting plan listing all of the subcontracts that you'll have between you and any SBE and CBEs that you'll have. If you are a SBE or CBE, please also list any subcontracts that you have with other SBE or CBEs, as well as any non-CBE subcontractors at all tiers. Please find an example of what an SBE subcontracting plan looks like. This is the first page of that plan. This will be completed on behalf of the project as a whole. Next is an example of what the SBE, CBE subcontractors will complete for their portion of the SBE subcontracting plan. This needs to be completed for each tier that is an SBE or a CBE. So if you have SBE or CBE subs, please complete this section of the subcontracting plan for each sub, indicating their tier. If you are an SBE or CBE, please complete this section of the subcontracting plan for your firm and any subcontractors that you may have. This is the last page of the SBE subcontracting plan that will be then submitted to DSLBD once all relevant documents are completed. The Department of Small and Local Business Development, DSLBD, also has some quarterly reporting requirements. So, upon your first submission of your very first vendor verification form for this project, we need a fully executed subcontract between you and whoever your direct prime is, and if you have subcontractors, a fully executed subcontract for each of those subs as well. A vendor verification form is a form that is submitted on a quarterly basis for all SBE and CBE firms that are working on the project at every tier level. This is an example of what the vendor verification form looks like. In part 3 is where you would indicate as a SBE or a CBE firm if you have any lower tier subcontractors that are also SBEs, also CBEs, or non-S or CBEs. This is the example of the second page of the vendor verification form. In part 4, please add the total amount of your current contract with whoever you are contracted to, as well as the total amount that you have subcontracted to SBE and or CBE lower tier firms. Next, you want to add what you were paid during the quarter that you will be doing this report for, as well as the total amount that you have been paid to date for your portion that you have performed on this project using your own resources. Then lastly, the remaining amount that you need to be paid on your contract is the last dollar value to be added to this form. Once all the information is correct, please sign and notarize this document and submit it to Atmos Solutions, so it can be submitted to DSLBD. The Department of Small and Local Business Development, DSLBD, also has very specific requirements for documenting your outreach efforts to the SBE-CBE community. All of the outreach efforts must be performed in a timely manner and documented to show who you contracted with, who you attempted to contract with, all of your written solicitations, all phone calls, phone numbers, people that you talked to, dates that you talked to them, the addresses if you sent things in the mail, or email addresses if you emailed things, descriptions of what you want them to do, specifications of the type of work, when you anticipate the work beginning and ending, as well as all responses to solicitation to the SBE and CBE communities. This is very important to show DSLBD that this project has done everything it can to reach out to the SBE, CBE community to fulfill this subcontracting requirement and goal. Next, we're going over the Department of Employment Services, DOES, employment requirements. DOES is the DC agency who monitors the First Source Employment Agreement Act of 1984, as well as the Office of Apprenticeship. DOES must be the first source in recruiting and hiring for all new jobs created by all government-assisted projects in the district. The first source law requires all companies who have contracts of $300,000 or more to enter a first source employment agreement with DOES. This agreement, plus the revised employment plan, must be submitted to DOES no less than 7 calendar days in either advance of the project or your contracted start date, whichever date is later. No work can be begun on these projects until an employment agreement as well as an employment plan has been accepted by DOES. Accepted means that it's been submitted and ratified by DOES. The First Source program requires the following workforce percentages to be met on this project. 20% of all journey worker hours must be performed by district residents. 60% of all apprenticeship hours must be performed by district residents. 51% of all skilled labor hours must be performed by district residents. 70% of all common labor hours must be performed by district residents. In addition to these worker hours, all new employment opportunities must be listed with DOES first. Please call the DOES Job Bank Services number at 202-698-6001 so that you can be registered with DOES DC networks. Once you're registered, please list all of your open positions on the DC Networks website, which can be found at www.dcnetworks.org. The First Source Employment Plan has been revised to include the following projections: total number of journey worker hours, total number of DC journey worker hours, total number of apprenticeship hours, total number of DC apprenticeship hours, total number of skilled worker hours, total number of DC skilled worker hours, total number of common labor hours, total number of DC common labor hours, as well as all employment hiring and those projections. So employment hiring includes all of the classifications that you'll be seeking to fill, as well as the number of employees you're looking to fill those positions. If you will not be doing any hiring, you must complete the justification sheet found on the employment plan and explain to DOES why you will not be hiring any new employees on the project. All job openings that are submitted on DC Networks must be there for at least 5 business days to allow DOES time to identify and refer qualified candidates to you for those positions. Internal job openings are not required. Those are positions for your admin staff, management, accounting, or any professional services. DOES monitors the first source requirements through the DC workforce statistics, which are generated from the submission of certified payrolls through LCP Tracker, as well as at-will audits, in which you might be asked to provide any backup documentation, payrolls, employment records, payment verifications, etc. There are some penalties: willful breach of the first source employment agreement, failure to submit your reporting, or deliberate submission of falsified information can result in a 5% of the total amount of direct and indirect labor cost monetary fine. Failure to meet the hiring requirements or failure to receive a good faith waiver may also result in a 1/8% of the total amount of direct and indirect labor cost monetary fine. DC apprenticeship is monitored by the DC Apprenticeship Council. Every contractor with contracts of $500,000 or more, whether it's one contract or multiple, received in a 12-month period in the district, must register and implement an apprenticeship program through the DC Apprenticeship Council. So if you do not have a $500,000 contract on this project, however, if you have $300,000 in district contracts and then $200,000 on this project, collectively that is $500,000 in the past 12 months in the District of Columbia, you must register and implement an apprenticeship program. The way to implement that program is to have a minimum of one DC apprentice for every 3 journey workers employed on the project. Thank you for your attendance. Have a great rest of your day.